With Microsoft's new motion camera, the controller is you. The Kinect promises to do away with thumbsticks and buttons and puts players' whole bodies to work with some of the most advanced motion detection technology around. But does it actually work? Sort of. The key to the Kinect, of course, is the unit itself. It has a built-in camera, depth sensor, and multi-array microphone to detect and track players in 3D space, identify players with facial recognition, and even receive voice commands. Sounds awesome, right? Only if you can set it up correctly. In fact, that's the biggest problem with Kinect. It's super sensitive and requires an elaborate calibration process. In order to use it, you have to clear a pretty large space in your room, adjust the lighting, and stand within a specific viewing area as it takes you through the process step by step. The system is well explained and far from difficult, but it can be pretty tedious, and depending on your playing environment, may have to be repeated frequently. The Kinect's finicky nature also extends well beyond the calibration stage. What about lag? Well, there is definitely a delay between a player's motion and what is reflected on screen, but how much will depend on the game you're playing. The system's camera is pretty low res, and Microsoft ditched the onboard processor to keep prices down, which unfortunately came at the cost of performance. But it's all too easy to criticize the Kinect for its technical shortcomings, and ultimately you have to realize that it isn't intended for true one-to-one motion tracking. It is designed for family-friendly multiplayer games, and the range of launch software certainly reflects that, with titles like Kinect Adventures and Kinectables. But the Kinect isn't all CG tigers and casual party games. There are some cool features unrelated to gaming that seasoned gamers and techies will enjoy, like navigating menus with your hands, giving voice commands, and visual recognition. During the initial setup process, players are asked to strike specific poses and move to certain positions so that the system can learn to recognize them as soon as they come into view of the sensor. This element of Kinect can be awesome. Gone are the days where you have to pull up the dashboard, scroll through menus, and find your profile. It sees you and signs you in immediately. It's kind of like a sci-fi nerd fantasy come true. Browsing menus and selecting items with a swipe of your hand is also pretty convenient and fun, as are the voice commands, which allow you to simply say Xbox, name a feature, and immediately access things like the Zune player and more. Of course, for most gamers, cool futuristic features like voice commands and motion-enabled menu navigation aren't enough to justify buying Kinect, especially for $150. It all comes back to your interest in the games, and unfortunately, the current range of casual games doesn't make it a compelling purchase, especially if you're into more conventional games like Halo. So, is the Kinect a must-buy? It depends on who is doing the buying. It is a pricey add-on geared to a very specific family-friendly audience who may love it. But for everyone else right now, it is simply too expensive for the experience you're getting. For more on the Kinect, including thoughts on specific games, check out IGN.com.